Okay, welcome back. We're still on page 589 talking about comparisons. So you can do greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or equals or not equal to, all these goofy things that you can do. Okay. So if that number doesn't equal to that number, do something. It doesn't matter what. And that's as far as we're going to get to that. So basically, I can do branching. Okay, that's what that's all about. Yes, you can do looping too, but we're not going to do any of that either. We do need to talk about functions, because up to now, the things that are happening here are only happening once. Well, what if I wanted to have something that was going to happen multiple times? So I tell you what, I'm gonna whack a lot of this because it's just kind of funky. All right, so here I'm going to create a function, and I have to give the function a name. In this case, I'll call it my hello. Okay, that's my function. And it's going to say var my name. You know, I could just copy that. Var name, enter your name. And then I'll say alert. Hello plus my name. So this function, when it gets called, is going to prompt me for my name and then turn right around and do an alert. Cool? All right. I'm going to get rid of some of this because this is getting a little crazy. Okay. So here I'm going to go into say script. But to call this function, basically all I have to do is just call it by its name. I just be able to say my hello. That's it. So if I wanted to do that more than once, I could just, the code would appear once inside the head. And the rationale behind this is identical to with CSS. If you're only going to use CSS one time, it's a one-off thing, well, just use inline, right? But if you're going to use it over and over again, well, then put it in as embedded up here, inside the head. And if you're going to use it, that same thing for multiple pages, well, then you put it external. Cool? It's the same concept with CSS as it is here. All right, let's go. So I get here. I did that again. And it should come up and say, enter my name, and my name is Bob Smith. And then I hit the button, and it comes back and says, hello, Bob Smith. Okay, cool? So, that's just a bit of how to use a function. That's about all I'm going to talk about that. So, let's continue. On page 594, they talk about another excellent use of JavaScript, and that is doing input validation. Let's say, for example, you weren't using JavaScript necessarily to prompt people, but you were using a traditional form like we've been using in the previous chapters, where you type in the guy's name and first name, last name, and age, and whatever, what department they were in. And maybe the age, you should do some input validation before you send it off to the other end. Maybe just to make sure that, it's like greater than or equal to 0 and maybe less than like 150 or something. Because you can't have somebody with a -4 or a 2000 for an age. So you could do some input validation. You could have a thing that as soon as you enter data into a text box, well, those input forms, right? You could launch a validation thing and have something come up on the screen that says that age you typed was invalid. Okay, I'm not going to demo that, but it's an excellent use, a very good use, a very user-friendly way to have something pop up on the screen. And you've probably seen this on screens, right? Like you'd be filling out your name and address or something and you miss the zip code or the state, and a little thing will pop up and say, hey, you forgot to enter the state. Cool. All right, that's what we're talking about. So, before, like we did the submit button, and it just sent everything to the other end, and the other end basically had to deal with it. There was some HTML5 input validation things you could do, and anyone guess how they did that? Well, they did it with JavaScript. Okay, cool. So, all is well in JavaScript land? No, not exactly. Some people do have JavaScript turned off. I can't tell you why. I suspect it's because they're confused between the difference between Java and JavaScript. In reality, the Microsoft, for example, has their own flavor of it, and they call it TypeScript. And TypeScript's been submitted, and now it's real honest-to-God official name. In fact, let's go find out what the real honest-to-God official name of this stuff is. So I'm going to do TypeScript. And hopefully... What? Oh, I'm in debugging mode. Okay. Doggone it. Here we go. They submitted it as a programming. Yeah, there you go. Its real honest-to-God name is the ECML ECMA script. That's what it really is. And so it's a superset of JavaScript that can do a little bit more. And so JavaScript exists in its simplest form almost everywhere. Perhaps this one would be a little bit more sophisticated if you were targeting particular browsers. They have made this, it's not like it's a Microsoft product per se. They have made it available to other people to use, and so a lot of people use this latest and greatest version, kind of an enhanced version of JavaScript. Okay, but accessibility rules, they're going to require that there should be no content that requires JavaScript to be there, on and enabled. For particularly a navigation structure. I mean, a really cool pull-down nav like we were showing, that's great. But if you don't have JavaScript, well, then you need some other way of doing it. Okay, just saying. I'm skipping over a bunch. We're going to go to page 601 talking about jQuery. And so let's talk about what that really is. So jQuery is, somebody sat around and said, you know, we're web developers, we're not programmers, and, you know, we seem to be reinventing the wheel a great deal about, you know, how to do input validation and how to do all this stuff. You know, what if somebody just did it all for us and just gave it to us? Wouldn't it be a whole heck of a lot better? That's what jQuery is. jQuery is a library, that's a cool term. It's a library of other people's code that they have developed that you can download, install on your website, point to with your HTML, and then have it load this stuff up, and then you don't have to do practically any programming at all. I mean, I look at it this way. If you're writing a normal, traditional web page, and you want to do some fancy stuff, there's practically nothing that you can do in JavaScript that somebody else hasn't already thought of. You know what I mean? Right? And so wouldn't it be kind of cool, instead of you trying to dig through the syntax and figure out how to make all this work, wouldn't it be kind of easy just to use somebody else's code? So, jQuery. Okay, so let's pretend like I have a jQuery out there, a jQuery thing that I've downloaded. What I would do is I would come here and I would do just like doing an external file. I would just go here and say, you know, script and source equals and whatever it is, you know, some jQuery.js, and that presto changeo, that would just suck that in, and then I wouldn't have to have my stuff spelled out here functions. I would just call theirs. I would just say my hello or whatever the jQuery thing is, and so this essentially would be gone. And it's all just somebody else's problem to maintain it and fix it and debug it and figure it all out. All you're doing, you're just calling these functions left and right and making really cool web pages without doing any programming at all. Okay. So, jQuery uses some selectors, has some pretty good examples there in the book. And the selector concept is very similar to like CSS. It's like, give me the entire document that I want to mess with, or maybe give me the current element that I'm on, or maybe give me these things. And so when jQuery, you know, does its thing, it knows how to go about finding where it is it's supposed to occur. Kind of cool. One of the things I thought was kind of cool that's been around a while is, oh man, I closed that. Shame on me. It's this guy. They have a built-in image gallery. This is pure jQuery. It takes practically nothing to get this gorgeous looking thing up and running. It's got thumbnail versions and a little scroller. You can, hit the little next and, roll through them one at a time. All this. And all you have to do is just use jQuery and tell it where your images are. That's it. And it does all the rest. Isn't that pretty cool? Okay. So if you're not a programmer, that's some cool stuff. Okay. They talk about support for plugins. Because JavaScript is very popular and lots of people are using it, it's not a closed environment. They allow you to have extra plugins that you can download that are just kind of user developed. Some guy over here said, hey, I created a plugin for, I don't know, downloading stuff off of YouTube or whatever it is. And so you go, okay, and you just go grab that thing and you plug it into jQuery and it adds additional functionality. So that's basically what that is. The slideshow is I think that's a plugin that you get to make that part work. So plugins are kind of cool. Again, it's all about trying to make it easy for you and to not have to do any programming. So quite literally, if you're at a point in writing a page and you think, oh, wouldn't it be kind of cool if I did something like, so you could go, well, I'll show you how to do that. Or just go out and hit a particular website and say, how do I do this in JavaScript? And I'm sure there'll be tons and tons of examples. Now, I've showed you guys this before. One of the ways I use JavaScript, and it's kind of simple, is down at the bottom of every page, I put a script in here that basically says, get the document date, the last date of the document. The document itself is the HTML page, but HTML page on the server, okay, on the server, when was the last time it was modified? And then I do a document write that spits that out. And so it says last edited space, and then it does this JavaScript, and then it spits out the thing. So at the end, it goes down to here, and it says last edited July 12, 2016. That's kind of a cool way that I use JavaScript. I've kind of showed you guys a little bit of this before. This is one of those collapse things. This is an excellent opportunity for you to use jQuery, because jQuery has this. You don't have to do anything. You just point to where it is and presto changeo. I can make this thing, collapse or expand with just a click of a button. Kind of cool. Okay. So we've reached the end of this chapter. Yes, this is a short chapter because I didn't want to burden you with an awful lot of programming stuff, because a lot of you guys are probably not programmers. All right, so we'll see you guys again in the next video.